right. Good morning, my dogs. It is 6:31. It is March 25th. It is Tuesday. Hopefully, everyone's feeling well. Yesterday, we had a big gap and go after Friday's reversal. A lot of people made some good money. Today could be a little bit of a digestion type day. When I woke up this morning before I did my 20 at 5:20, before I got my workout in with my dogs, looked like the futures are down 10, 12 handles. And now we're flattish. So I could see a little bit of an inside day, some stocks outperforming. So we'll see what to do. My thoughts were, buy a little bit more in for things to go red to green, see if we digest and figure out if we could continue this week a little bit to the upside. I'm not thinking we're going to have a blaring move, or blasting off move, whatever you want to call it. But it looks like we could have constructive action. So I'm mapping out areas. So if you take a look here at the SPYs, this was when we reclaimed 559, 561. That gave you some clues that the bears don't have much power. That was Friday. Then you had a big gap up. So what did we do? You gapped up above the 200-day, and we put a nice candle in, and now you have this new point of reference, 570.20. So this morning I was like, do we hold 570.20? Do we hold above it? The higher we hold above it, the more commitment there is to it, and the more probability that perhaps we work into this zone, which is 580, 585. As of right now, after doing my workout with my dogs, which you could subscribe for above. Listen, if you find value in the 630 Club and you want to get the mind right and you want to get involved with whiteboard weekends where I do lessons every weekend, I talk about the week, and you want to do a little bit of whether you're on the treadmill, whether you're on a stair machine, if you're up early in the morning trying to figure out your thought process, well, that's to get the mind right. But anyway, all of a sudden, SPYs were down $1. Now they're up 13 cents. So that trade kind of got taken away. So we're within this candle. We stay within this candle. Then at some point, we take out 575.15. And then you have a whole void up towards this area. And into this area where the moving averages come down, that's where I might go out and buy some puts, a few weeks out, as I do think earnings season is going to be tricky for Q1. I think guidances are going to be great. And those are just some thoughts. But between now and then, there's not a whole lot going on. There's some news that the president is coming out with some news maybe about a ceasefire with Russia and Ukraine. So maybe that turned around the market a little bit. Ultimately, though, you have these gap pivots to trade against to see whether this ignites another, move. So if you look here, the Qs have very similar. Qs gave you 484.40. Here's the high. This would be a big area, this 498-ish. So I could see there being a little bit more upside traction. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But ultimately, I do think there's some more room. So I'm trying to, massage some positions. Some of the positions that I like that I'm still in, I think Amazon has room. Amazon, has a big gap. Yesterday's high here is 203.58. I do think, even though Jack Ma said, we're in a bubble for, what did he say we're in a bubble for? A bubble for, what the hell was that? All right, I'm not going to get to that. But anyway, I do think there's some move up. There's a whole void here. So I'm in some. I'm going to buy a little bit add there. This was a great trade yesterday. Amazon, to me, could be something that works higher. Meta also, has a bit of a gap up, okay, to trade against. It hit one spot, 622. I think this can go to 635. So a lot of things look very similar, where Palantir was the best. Palantir, gave you at least some clues. If you use technical analysis and you've been following my process for a bunch of decades, you know that this was the candle that kind of launched this move. It got above the moving averages before everything else. That was your clue and your signal to say, hey, if you got out when Palantir broke 118 or when it broke all the moving averages, this is what we call rebuilding. So where do I think it can get to? I think it can get into the 100 area. So a bunch of the 2-day move probably happened, but ultimately this was nice action. That and Tesla were the two things that told me you can't be too bearish coming into yesterday. Now listen, what would be another day without bad news on Tesla? So Tesla basically, they're saying the European registrations were down again. The bulls, all they want to focus on is the AI, robo-taxi, robots. And the bears want to focus on that it's really a car company and the valuation is high, et cetera, et cetera. And Elon's a little stretched. But anyway, what do I think? I think this can get to the 290 area, or 293 area. This got above the 8-day moving average on Friday. Some people are like, right, dog, you've been out of Tesla, for multiple months. I'm like, yeah, but if you get out of it when it breaks, when it puts in a red dog reversal high, or when it breaks the 8 and 21 day, or gets sold into strength, you have the luxury of buying back, when you see relative strength. And on Friday, Tesla showed some relative strength for the first time. So that was a great spot to get involved. So anyway, now what? I was thinking I went out very small, a lot smaller than I had on Friday. I actually sold some after hours. And when I looked to sort down $4 this morning, I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe I could buy Tesla, go right to green for cash flow. And now Tesla's already green. So when you have complicated news and it doesn't affect the name, then it kind of tells you, hey, the fix might be in for a little bit. So what does that mean? It means that it doesn't matter if what kind of things come out on it, as long as it's not crazy drastic, chances are, it's in the midst of a new type of sequence. So 278.64 is yesterday's high. So let's go 278.64. That is yesterday's high. So gets above 278.64. There's room towards 290. What's it doing right now? It's already above it. And the registrations are the lowest it's ever been. So this is still kind of intact. So anyway, those are just some thoughts. So with that being said, I'm still there. I'm smaller. I'm going to probably trim into that area. Doesn't mean I have to short it. Doesn't mean you have to short it. Just because something hits a target and you want to sell you long because that's a spot doesn't mean you have to short it. You should write that down. Anyway, so that's Tesla. NVIDIA to me is interesting. NVIDIA is trying to get a little bit better technically. It still seems like they're not letting it go. It still seems like a little bit of like a source of funds where, it was like a struggle yesterday for this thing to rally. It almost feels like there's buyers higher. But anyway, what's this high here? This high here is 122.22. 122.22. In order for this to really open up, kind of has to get above 122.22 and then 122.89, and then then the 50 days not too far away, and then here's your 100 days. So really, there's a lot of resistance above in all these things. It's just a question of what you want to play. So NVIDIA is there is some talk that also I think Apple ordered some chips, so that you would think that would help NVIDIA. Maybe you haven't heard much about that. There was I saw a news article on that. So this is decent. I'm in it. And I'll probably add to it to go red to green. It's only down 69 cents, type of thing. But when NVIDIA lags, it's tricky. Like, right now, like look at Tesla going. That's pretty cool. I thought I'd have to like deal with some volatility this morning. So if you were jumping out of your skin, with Tesla down $3 and now it's up $1.40, chances are you had too much anyway. So this NVIDIA looks pretty good. Kind of get above this. Some people are like, hey, Red Dog, you missed AMD. Yeah, I missed AMD, but I've been posting the chart the past, since Friday for my guys, for the Alpha team and for Redler All Access. Sometimes I'm not in everything. I can't be in everything. I have a lot going on. Last week, I had to go to Fox Business. I had to meet with different hedge funds. I had a lot of things going on, so, I do what I want to, what's necessary. But anyway, what's AMD doing this morning? It's up another 28 cents, 114. Where could it get to? Yeah, probably gets to the 100-day or something. That's right there. I still think you gotta, just a trade. AMD's done this many times and failed, but finally, I guess you could say it did clear this downtrend. So if you bought some, congratulations. It could even get to the 200-day. That means, the market's still moving somewhat. But anyway, good for you. There hasn't been that many names in the semis that are doing well, like AVGO, Vago, which is still sitting in this box. There's not a whole lot going on there. You know what? I had a decent move, ARM in semis. ARM, but still look how broken this damn is. Oh, wow, this is so broken. All these moves are just having broken bounces, and they have room to, to the moving averages. That's about it. Except for Dash. Dash has been unbelievable. A lot of guys in my group made a lot of money in Dash for a while now. I've been talking about Dash on the 630 Club with you guys since this candle. And I wasn't even in it then. That was that August 5th craziness. I started playing Dash right around here. It took me some confidence to start playing this thing. It's a little tricky. It doesn't trade like a Tesla or like an Amazon. Like even yesterday it came in, okay, and I was a buyer of Dash into like the 188s, and then you were able to buy Dash above 195, and now It looks like it's on its way towards this 215. It's above the moving average. It's had a whole void here. So this is something you should get to know. And I've been saying that for a while now. And I've been starting to make a lot more money there because I'm building confidence in the institutional flows behind it and the story behind it. And if you look at the weekly chart of Dash, you'll see that it's got this massive cup and handle pattern. Came public, in 2020, 2000. So it's not even really where it came public, So there's this whole void here and then some. So that's why I do think the life of this DoorDash is kind of in its infancy. And every time there's a filing where one of the insiders sells a bunch, it gets hit. You could buy the dip and then they walk it up. So I've learned how to deal with that too. So with your go-to list, you want to learn your go-to list. So this way, you know more about it than most others. It's like your kids. You know your kids. You know your dog. When it's rambunctious, when it's ready to go, when it's got pent-up energy, when it's feeling a little tired. That's how you have to get so close with your stock. So this DoorDash has been really good. So if it gets above this, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon to get above it. I'm just saying it's working its way. And every time it comes in a little bit, some people buy the dip a little bit. And again, above all the moving averages. There's not a lot of things above all the moving averages. Let me say hello to some of my dogs. So everyone wants to say what's up on YouTube, on Twitter. Some of you guys are from the Red Dog mindset. That's great. Good morning, Red Dog. What do I think about TTD? Thoughts on MUSM? So Google doing well today after yesterday. Baidu CEO called AI a bubble. Yeah. I thought the Babis CEO did that, not the Baidu. Anyway, let me answer some questions here first. So first is what do I think of MU? So the semis, they're all not created equal. SMCI looks like it's a little bit better. What I remember from part of the thing that Jensen's keynote, he talked about the cooling of the data centers. Anyway, SMCI is what? SMCI is it's down 23 cents. It's trying. It's better. There's not as much craziness centered around SMCI, but it looks decent. It's got to get above this 42.70 to get moving. Micron, I would have just avoid Micron. Micron had a big gap down, and kind of held it, and now it looks like it might fill this gap for a small little trade. So if it gets above there, perhaps you can make a cash flow trade. That'll probably help the semis. If the Micron can get in this gap and fill it, it'll show no power to that gap, and that might be a little bit better for the semis. It's down 30 cents. All right. Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin, the dip could be buyable today. I did trim some options into Bitcoin, so I bought a little bit back. ASTS was awesome yesterday. Awesome. Okay, I bought some options on this day. I added the stock yesterday pre-market. A lot of people are talking about how this is the next biggest thing, like satellites out in the orbit, so you could have cellular service versus broadband or underground, whatever it is. A lot of big money behind it. If you go to Shea, he has a whole big tweet about it. And anyway, it's been in this pattern now since August 15, 2024, where there's been a lot of big money accumulating it after a big move. It's got room in this range. In order to get into this part of the range, it's got to get above and stay above 29.45. So if it gets above that, you could add to it. I bought a little bit more last night after hours. So yeah, this is a newer name. It's not Amazon, it's not Meta. This is a newer name. There's always risk with newer names, but there are guys that think this is going to be 55 to 60 this year. So if it's going to happen, it's got to get above here. It's got to get above there. It's got to get above there. So figure out how to go with it. When did you get? Come on, Bobby 4 Point. When did you get stopped at ASTS? You probably got stopped out here. Doesn't mean you can't get back to it here. You know better than that. It just wasn't ready. I got stopped out of it a few times also. But yesterday it paid me. So the stock doesn't remember what happened to us. You know that. That was Bobby 3.0. Now you're Bobby 4.0. Google, let's see what Google's doing. Google cleared this lower pivot just like everything else, and now probably gets into that gap. What's Google doing this morning? Google it's up 38 cents, 168. Yeah, it's all right. Nothing special here, but there's not that many things special. So Google looks like there's a little bit more room to fill the gap. And then everything has all the moving averages above. You know what I'm saying? You made up for it in Tesla. Good. Cool. Baba's CEO, Joe Tsai, said the AI was starting to look like a bubble. I will say I've lost some money in Baba this week. It's been pretty annoying, to be honest. I made a lot of money here. I had options. I rolled them up, played through this area. And then right when it got through 145, I kind of thought there was one more move to 160, 170. Rolled out my options. I lost in those. And then yesterday into here, I went out a month and bought more options. And don't let the Chinese names turn into a cesspool of money for you. What do I mean? It means like, hey, it had a big move, and now we'll see what happens if it resets. I think it can reset. It's just a matter of when. But we'll see. At what point do you lighten up the positions in the BOS account? So here's the thing. So here's the SPYs once again. So I did a pretty decent job buying the Blood in the Street account. The Blood in the Street account is an account that I have full cash in. So I have 7 accounts. I go over this all the time on the weekends, where I talk about my day trading account to play over emotion, my swing trading account when we're in a good environment to have risk on, my options account for binary events, my box account that makes my P&L bigger, good or bad. And then I talk about my 401ks every month. Doesn't matter. I'm 52. Never look at it. Just every month get the cost average. 529. I'm starting to look at it. My son's a sophomore, going to be a junior. So, even if we have another, sideways to down, I still think he'll be fine, for college. But anyway, the Blood in the Street account is an account that I can't put flows in. That was when my wife worked at the hospital, UMDNJ, that I try and manage. So I put it to work about 18 times now since 2018. So, you go to the weekly chart, a lot of, you go all the way back here, and this is the weekly chart. So all the way since 2018, I've been putting this thing to work like 3 times, 4 times, and here is a bunch of times. So anyway, I usually go in tiers, and I only got to put it a third in so far. And actually look at this. This is actually a nice little look here. So this is the weekly chart. So this is 5. What is this? That's 580. This is going to be a tough spot, I think, for the market. This was a low area. This low is what? This is this low is 582. Yeah. So this is going to be a tough spot. And some people are like, hey, Red Dog, what if they do like an overthrow? I'm like, we're talking way ahead here. But this area is going to be really tough for this market to get back above. So anyway, if I had just say I bought the first tier here and I got half my account in here, then I probably would be selling half into a 582 and then holding half just in case we come back down or go to highs. But because I have a third in, chances are I'm not going to really do anything with it. I'm just going to let it stay in. And at some point, if we do make new highs, in the fourth quarter of this year or the third quarter of this year, then I usually reduce it. I like to make at least 5 to 6% per tier for her Blood in the Street account. It's not a swing account. Listen, a lot of times we buy a lot of stock when I do her BOS because the oscillator is minus 70. Things are so drastically oversold, and we make 100 to 200 handles within 4 days. And that's for the swing account, not for the Blood of the Street account. But anyway, the criteria didn't really work out that way. Good morning from London, Red Dog. Everyone, Bob is CEO calling USAI bubble is a reason to buy, in my opinion. Okay. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with NVIDIA today. I'd like to see if NVIDIA can go red to green. If all of a sudden NVIDIA gives back this candle, then you're going to know things are getting a little testy. So it'd be nice if NVIDIA could hold above here and then, take out yesterday's high and then continue. And that would help give a little bit more power to the semis and more to tech. Someone's asking me about ISRG. You missed it yesterday. All right, I missed a lot of things. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, ISRG, just like everything else, you had a lower pivot, gapped up. Now, if you wanted to play ISRG, you could say, hey, I'm long versus gap, and maybe it works its way into the moving averages. So, yeah, so it doesn't matter. Hey, listen, like some people you don't need to be in 10 positions to make a lot of money. Some of my friends who weren't that bullish, they were very concentrated in Dash and ASTS. They didn't have to be in everything else. You could have been in Dash yesterday. I made a lot of money and added to it. And you could have been in ASTS yesterday. I made a lot of money and you didn't have to be in 10 things. So the thing is, what parts of your go-to list are looking good at the time, and that's how you get involved. And anyway, Seafer says Dash was absolutely beautiful. I get it. What's up? Top of the morning from Florida. TTD. All right. I saw someone ask me about this yesterday. Wow. This thing's been so battered and bruised. My goodness gracious. Look at the size of that move lower. Hey, it did clear this lower area like everything else. Maybe there's a move towards, the 21 day. So again, just like everything else, depending what you want to look at, what you want to play, there seems as if, there's a broken bounce going on. It's just a question of which one goes more and what do you feel more comfortable playing. But anyway, with that being said, Bitcoin, I sold some options yesterday. We'll see if I actually bought a little bit last night. I was trading down last night after hours, 49.59. So it's already playing with the gap. Some people are like, well, Bitcoin's a leading indicator. If it's playing with its gap, that means the SPY is going to play with its gap. That's not so true. It just had a bigger move. So I would just think, I think this can still work higher. It was a good power play, actually. So with that being said, guys, it's 6:52. It's March 25th. We'll see if we have an insight type day and we can continue to work higher. Earnings season isn't for a whole week, so we don't have to worry about that. There's going to be an announcement by the president. I think people think maybe a ceasefire. That's why the futures turned. If it's not, that'll probably be a disappointment. Semis are decent, not great. Mega cap tech, the lag 7 are trying to have broken bounces. We'll see where they can get to and map it out. And continue to try and make some money and let it add up. Oh, somebody asked me, why am I in PAL? This is more of a sales trader play. It's something that, a fund's been accumulating and thinks that within the next 2 quarters, it's back into this area. I'm in it. My stop is 940. It's on the alpha team. It's not a momentum name. It's not something to trade and go nuts with. It's not Dash. It's not Tesla. It's just something. Oh, someone asked me, what did I buy? I bought some options in Apple yesterday, while it was lower, thinking that maybe, I could see this 224. It's not a big play. This is very, very broken. Most guys got out here. So I just think that if they want to get the SPYs up towards that 580 area, pretty easy for Apple. The buyback, the dividend, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. had a big time move topping. I played it last week. Unfortunately, I didn't keep it. Nice action here with Mr. Mr. finally cleared all the moving averages, cleared the downtrend. So it's a lot more tradable than it's been. So, today, see if it can go red to green. Just be careful. I had a big range yesterday. It's only down $1.80. It's not a big deal. My target was like this 344. It's already, on its way there. So Mr. and Bitcoin are definitely acting better, which also gives us some clues that maybe there's a little bit more risk on for a little while, and then we'll see when that changes. And again, I appreciate you guys for subscribing to Red Dog Mindset. It's a lot more than the 20 at 520. A lot of what I do will be behind that paywall in the 6 months ahead. So I think you should grandfather yourself in. It's $10 a month, versus not, anyway, hopefully you have a good day. I appreciate you. Get your mind right. Get your routine and process strong. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to sit in your seat every day, deal with the unknowns. You control what you can control. So this way you can embrace what you can't. I'll see you guys a little bit later.